Hey, Julia, where the heck did you disappear to? Mom and Dad have been blowing up your phone and you're ghosting them like crazy. Seriously, did you forget what day it is?
Ugh, chill out. Do you even know what time it is? I just want to catch some more Z's.
Oh, you know what time it is. It's almost noon now, and you're supposed to meet someone at 12, remember?
Meet someone? Oh, yeah. Now that you mention it, I vaguely remember something about that.
Vaguely remember. Seriously, Julia, you were the one bugging us to find you a potential date. Mom and Dad have been going all out to set you up with someone who's willing to meet you.
Well, I was coming back from my friend's wedding and got all caught up in the whole marriage fever thing. I was like, hey, I want to tie the knot too, so I don't want to feel left out, you know?
But you were practically begging Dad to find you a date. He even went through the trouble of arranging a meetup with the son of some big shot CEO from one of his clients, right?
Oh, and speaking of that, if I'm gonna get hitched, I want a guy with loads of cash. And this dude seems to fit the bill. But seriously, have you seen the pics of him? The one Dad showed me? They better not be catfishing me or something.
I did have a look at his picture once.
You think I'm going to want to marry some fat guy like that?
What?
I want to be with someone who actually cares about his health and figures a bit more than that guy. You know, I like my men thin and handsome, right? No matter how much money the guy has, if he's not good looking to me, then I don't want him.
You don't want him? Did you ever tell Mom and Dad that then?
Well, it's already too late to tell them now. Telling them both about this now would not change the fact that the plans were already made.
Hold on a second. So you're not actually planning on going out to meet that guy today?
That's right. And it's not like I want anything to do with him. And if I go there and he develops feelings for me, then it'll be just a huge pain in my neck. LOL.
What are you talking about? You were the one asking over and over again to have Mom and Dad set you up with someone. And now that they've had a guy ready for you and everything, you're not going to tell them you don't want to see him anymore? No way. That's okay, Julia. You should really tell Mom and Dad about this right now. I mean, this has to do with one of Dad's customers' sons. You understand that, right?
All right, if I really have to go out and meet this guy, then why don't you go to my place and meet with him?
I'm not playing around about this right now. I happen to be engaged right now, right? There's no way I'm going to go out and see another man who isn't my fiance.
It'll be fine. I happen to have your fiance in my pocket anyway.
What the heck is that supposed to mean?
I might not want to go meet with that chubby guy, but that hasn't changed the fact that I want to get married. So I've made sure that I'll be the one getting married to your fiance.
What did you just say?
That time you brought him over to meet your family, I've always thought he was really cute. I was always fine with the thought of having a good-looking brother-in-law would be nice, but I also thought his beauty would be wasted on you of all people. So I went and convinced him to give up on you and instead come and marry me.
Without me ever noticing. But as far as I'm aware, my fiance has never said anything to me yet about wanting to marry you now.
Well, I was planning on moving in together today. The idea was when I started having all my things moved into that room with you guys, then you'd be able to pick up on what was happening between your fiance and I.
Huh.
It would have been a pain for us if you found out about this before we set up all the plans, right? So that's why the plan is to have you moved out of that apartment and then I'll move in with him.
Are you kidding me? I never heard anything about this from either of you, though.
Well, that's why I told you it was being kept a secret between us. We wanted to make sure you wouldn't do anything about it until after I was already there with him.
Have you guys really been talking about all of this behind my back this whole time?
Yep, LOL. That's why it's totally okay for you to go out and meet that guy Dad set up for me, since you no longer have a partner yourself. If anything, I'm being a really nice little sister by letting you go out with the man I was supposed to see today, right after you lost your fiance, right?
How the hell are you even remotely close to a nice little sister? You're not only asking me to go out with this man you cried for Mom and Dad to set you up with, but you're asking me that after telling me you've been going out with my fiance this whole time and plan to live with him now.
Don't get so mad about it. I'm going to make sure to become an amazing wife in your place for your fiance, all right? Now you can go and be happy with that fat loser in my place. It'll be totally fine. He's a perfect match for someone like you. So now that I've told you about everything, let's both have a wonderful time with our partners.
You hold it right there, Julia. I am not done with you yet, especially after all you've just said to me.
I'm sure you've already heard everything from Julia now, but it's just like she said. So you and I are no longer engaged, Molly. I had no choice, all right? I've started to realize that she's a lot better for me than you are, and now I'm in love with her.
So when you proposed to me and said that you loved me, it was a lie?
The moment I saw that you had a younger and far cuter little sister, I thought it would be best to get closer to her. So that's why I proposed to you and had us get reservations at that expensive restaurant in order to see her while meeting your parents.
I cannot believe you. You and I went through with getting a whole wedding ready for us. We've already handed out all the invitations and everything. So what the hell are we going to do about that?
I'd like for you to tell all those that you invited that the wedding is canceled. I will talk with those that I went ahead and invited to the wedding. And as a way of showing that I'm sorry, I'll pay for our wedding to be canceled.
You're acting like you're being so kind to me for doing that. What makes you think any of this is even remotely okay?
I told you I had no other choice. I was asked to be your sister's boyfriend by her.
She was the one that asked you, Julia?
She had told me about how your family had been trying to get her set up with a man to marry, but he's not her type. After she showed me the picture of him, I totally agree with her that he's an absolute cow. I could see that she was never going to find the man for herself, and then at one point, while talking to me, she asked me out.
And when something like that happens, you being the man who is already in a relationship says no to her.
I don't think that you understand how hard it is for me to say no to the one girl that I've been wanting to be with the most.
Do you have any idea why she was looking for a man in the first place? Because she said that she only wants to get married because I was planning to... And so, of all her friends, do you really think she's being serious with you right now?
Oh, you think I'm going to fall for something like that? I'm sure she was getting jealous of everyone else, but that doesn't mean her love for me is fake. I get that all of this is hard for you since you just found out that I've dumped you for her, but don't start trying to get me all worried about the relationship I've been having with her. Julia is a whole lot more cute than you, Molly, and that's why I left you. Now, leave my love with her alone.
I'm done with this. I cannot figure out what actually drove you to do all of that, and I don't even want to anymore. I thought you were a better man than that, but I guess I was completely wrong. You actually went ahead and cheated on me while we've been engaged.
Well, if I'm such a terrible man, then after today, don't you ever come around Julia or I. I'm so sorry for doing this to you, but there was nothing that could be done about it.
I know now that the reason for us having to call our marriage off is due to you cheating on me, so I'm going to get a settlement. Once I've gotten the money from you that I deserve, that'll be the end of me ever being around you. I'll make sure that I never even have to believe that either of you exist anymore.
You're getting a settlement from me? So you've been wanting my money?
I want for the both of you to see that what you've done is completely wrong, and that's why I'll be getting a settlement from you.
Go right ahead then. I've looked it up, and the amount you could even get from me for doing something like this is barely anything.
That's right. It is barely anything. But this isn't about me wanting money from you, but rather to teach you both lessons.
Well, then I'll be sending you the amount you ask for later.
Just make sure you read all the paperwork that I sent you so that there are no mistakes. I'll be sending you those papers later, but from what I've heard is that you're going to be moving, so I can't mail anything to you yet.
We're not going to be moving for another year out of this apartment. So just send me the papers and we'll see if they bring them here still. I'm sure they will.
Well, then I'll go ahead and do that. I never thought that this would be how our relationship would ever end, but I guess it's all better to happen now than later on for me.
I'm sorry that our love life of being engaged to one another was so short-lived and that we never got to get married. But I'm going to be much happier with your sister. So you can just be glad about that. I hope you're just as happy with whatever man comes across you next.
Molly, long time no see. Are you still having a good time living as a single woman? I'm still so sorry about stealing your fiance from you right as you were both going to get married.
And what do you want from me now?
So, I guess you never did end up blocking me then. Perfect. I happen to have 3 things to tell you, so that's why I decided to text you.
3 things?
The first one is that Tim ended up quitting his job, and from there he started his own company, which he is now running as the CEO.
That's really great to hear.
Now, for the second piece of news, I'm pregnant!
That is also great to hear.
These aren't the kind of reaction I was hoping to get from you. A little dry, I think. Did you not just hear me say that you're going to have a niece or a nephew now? And this means that mom and dad will be getting their first grandbaby. You should be way more excited for me.
I'm not excited about any of it, but I'll congratulate you. So, what's this third piece of news you have?
I plan on coming home to mom and dad's to have my baby there.
What? You're coming back to have your baby at mom and dad's? So you're actually coming back?
From what Lucas told me, his company is completely based online, which means he can do his work from anywhere in the world. So, because of that, us two can go back to mom and dad's place, and we're both thinking of living with them long term.
3 years ago, I really thought that you were one hell of a crazy sister. But even now, you're proving to me that you are still freaking crazy.
Well, my husband is building this business of his up, so he needs all of the money he can get, right? It would be a waste to put our money into our house, so it's much better to just move back home with mom and dad. Then we'll have all of the money he needs for that company, right? And above saving money, having the baby be around mom all of the time would really help me a lot.
So you plan to have both mom and dad be there to help you out?
Well, yeah, I'm giving them their first grandbaby after all, and both of them have always spoiled me with anything I want. And this time, I want to be home with them.
So you really never came around to realizing just how much trouble you caused for all of us by running away with Tim?
I do think it was a bit wrong that I stole your fiance from you at the time, but you're also to blame for letting me steal him, right? So, since you were in the wrong as well, do you mind leaving that house and letting my husband and I move into it with mom and dad?
Excuse me?
I'm pretty sure you're still living there with those two feeding off all their money, right? After having your fiance stolen from you, you've continued to be single. I plan on coming back to mom and dad and making them happy with their first grandbaby. So the freaking obstacle of a loser needs to get out of there.
We had that old house demolished, okay?
What? What do you mean their house was demolished? Wait a second. What the heck? I never heard anything about that happening.
But from what I've heard, it's a realtor company that bought the land, and they're going to build a new house on it.
Wait a sec. So you're telling me mom and dad's house isn't there anymore? Where the heck am I supposed to go home now? Actually, where are mom and dad right now? Tell me where they went.
Dad ended up retiring from his job a little early last year. And with the money from that and from the land he sold, he took mom with him and moved overseas. I think Thailand.
They moved to Thailand?
Those two have always loved the ocean. So they bought a really cheap house out by the ocean in Thailand and had been living there. Every week, those two are sending me pictures of the new life they both have there. And man, does it look awesome. Those two are really happy now.
What the heck? I can't just get up and go overseas to be with them. Then where the heck are you? Weren't you living with mom and dad at their house all by your lonesome?
I'd never been living off of mom and dad while I was in their house. I just happened to work for a company that was close to that old house. So they let me stay with them for a while as I worked. I had planned to move out of their place for good 3 years ago and stay in that apartment with Tim. But we both know what happened there. As of right now, I'm living with my new husband.
You got married? You, my older sister, got married?
And I hear you going on about how you're giving mom and dad their first grandbaby, but I had my first child last year. So mom and dad already have a grandbaby now.
You had a baby? You're lying, right? I mean, you lost your fiance 3 years ago. 3 years! It's only been 3 years since you were thrown away by Tim.
And people are always saying that one man's trash is another man's treasure. Now, I'm not saying that the person who threw me away before was anything like a man, but after having been thrown away, I went with mom and dad to go see the man that was set up to go out with you. We wanted to say sorry for you being a no-show, but after we did that, we decided to sit down with him and have a chat while having lunch together.
Don't tell me you're with that ugly fatty. Did you actually marry a freak like that? I don't care that you got thrown away by Tim. You shouldn't go out with something like that after.
But you would recommend it to me that I go out with him after you said you stole Tim from me. Well, I'm just gonna show you what he looks like now to clear this air.
Who is that?
That happens to be my husband holding our son.
No frickin' way. That guy looks nothing like the fat loser in those pictures I was shown. Had I known Dad set me up with a man like that, I would have never canceled on him. He's perfect for me.
He happened to get some work done on himself, as well as get some skincare therapy. Also, at the time he was planning on going out with you, he had a lot of stress in his life. But now he's a completely new-looking man. After he had finished all his treatments and therapy, he and I got married, where I've now been treating him to all kinds of healthy foods. Looking at him now, you would never be able to tell he was that man from 3 years ago. But he didn't even stop after all those treatments. Do you want to know why he put on so much muscle? Right after telling him that I was pregnant, he told me he wanted his son to look just as good as him, but didn't think he would be able to get his son to be active and healthy. So he started going to the gym 6 days a week and turned himself into a macho man in order to influence our baby. He is a wonderful husband and father.
You're lying. I thought for sure that he was a nobody, and I thought having a baby with him would bring the birth of one of the most ugly-looking kids in America. Wait, now that I remember it, this is that same guy that you and Dad said were saying as a father? That's a CEO?
That's right. And as of right now, he's taking on his dad's position now that his dad is retiring. But that's not all. As right after becoming the CEO, he took his dad's company even further and made it an extra $2 billion this year.
So he's not just the son of the CEO that got put into that position, but he actually knows how to run the company?
He really does.
Where are you living right now, Molly?
We're living in a very secure penthouse.
A penthouse? I'm going there right now. I'm going to stay there and have the baby at your place.
I believe 3 years ago, we made the promise to never come around one another again, right? So that's not going to happen.
Well, I'm saying it's fine for us to meet now. So let's bring things back to the way they were in the past and live together in peace, okay? All right?
I don't think you and I were ever living in peace with one another, so I'm not sure what you're talking about.
What? What are you talking about? You and I had some of the best times together as sisters, right?
You think so? Even though you would always get away with doing whatever you wanted and then force me to take over for all your responsibilities? Even though you would always take my things from me without asking and then say that I lost them? I have still not forgotten about how, back in high school when I graduated, Dad gave me that really nice watch, but right before I was going to wear it, you took it from me and broke it.
Back then, I was just a wild young little girl.
No, you were way too old by then to be acting like that. You told me after stealing Tim away from me that I should do my best to be happy with whatever man I found, right? Well, look, I have become very happy with my husband and we have a house and family and everything. You said that we would both work to become happy, and look where we're at. I'm living the best life I can live right now, so you just need to try a little harder to be on my level.
Wait, are you not going to help me?
You know, I don't have to help you, right?
But I was planning on having Mom and Dad be the ones to pay for everything I needed and house us. Right now, we don't have any money in our savings.
How about you ask Tim's family to help you out then? His parents only ever had one kid, Tim. So this is going to be their first grandbaby, right? Aren't they going to be so happy to have you both living with them?
3 years ago, both of his parents cut ties to us. They were both furious with us over having Tim leave you for me. Tim tried so hard to get them to understand us, but they kept telling us to never come back to them again. We can't ask for their help now. So right now, the only person I can rely on is you, Molly.
And you think after what you did to me 3 years ago, you can come back asking me to help? Wild. Well, I'm sorry, but I don't want to deal with you anymore. Now, I'll be praying that you and your husband can make a decent enough family for your soon-to-be-coming baby. Goodbye forever.
No way, right? You're really planning on throwing me away like this?
Molly, please, Molly, do this for the man you first loved and your little sister. Please help us out. If you don't do anything to help us, then myself and your little sister are going to be left for the streets with nothing we can do. You're living in a penthouse now, right? I hear you got married to a man with lots of money, right? I'm sure you can just give us one room there we can stay.
This is strange. I could have sworn somebody had told me 3 years ago that they were throwing me away for my more cute and better little sister. Who could that have been again? That told me to never talk to them again?
I know that I really messed up after what happened back then, so let's just let go of all that happened then.
I believe it's me that gets to choose what we just let go and what we hold on to. You have no say in any of that.
Not bothering to help your family out, nor even daring to help your little sister? You're one cold witch, aren't you? I could sue you for this.
I've already gotten a settlement from the both of you for cheating on me, and I also have the evidence of what happened then, as well as audio recordings from when I had you talk to my lawyer. I'm not really sure what you plan to sue me for, but I'm sure the judge won't be having any of it from you. So, are you sure you want to try me?
Hey, come now, Molly. It takes a lot of money to get a company up and running, and right now, Julie and I don't have all that much money.
Well, then how about before you start up a new company? You actually work for all the money that you'll be needing? Isn't it pretty obvious that you're going to need to pay for your living expenses while you're building a company? Now listen here. I have chosen to never talk to either one of you guys again, alright? So I'm going to block the two of you now.
You will not.
My parents are both living overseas now in Thailand. And as for the penthouse we're living in, it is very secure and managed by a private security company. I'm thinking it won't be all too easy for either one of you to get to us. So if you are planning to be a couple of pests for me, then I'll be more than happy to take you both to court and sue. Please remember that very well.
Let's just both calm down and talk this out in person. I will literally come to you and get on my hands and knees apologizing for what happened 3 years ago. You're the only person that can help us.
You had told me that you would be able to do everything on your own back when you said for me to never come around you both again. So please be a man of your word and go away. Now, go enjoy that life you have with my little sister some more. After that, I went ahead and blocked those two numbers. And then, when those two learned that, I really did mean that I'd be blocking them, they went back to Tim's parents, begging them to let them in. And somehow it seemed to work, and those two were allowed to live with his parents. But the only condition was that they both had to pay to stay with them. So the life of being cared for by someone else never actually came after the move-in. And this was when Tim realized that he was never going to get his company to take off. So he gave up on it and started looking for a job again. As for Julia, she started to work at a supermarket close to Tim's parents' house. I know that I said I'd never be around those two ever again and that they'd never be allowed around me. But I happened to stay good friends with Tim's mom for the past 3 years. So when anything happens regarding those two, I hear about it through her while we're getting coffee together.